When you're thinking about stepping up to a professional-grade alto sax, the hesitation is real. You've probably seen a handful of glossy ads promising the best tone and instant brilliance. But the real question is whether that instrument will actually fit your daily routine, your budget, and the sound you're trying to carve out. I've spent a good chunk of the last month sitting in rehearsal rooms, gigging with a few different bands, and chatting with teachers and students who already own a Yamaha YAS82ZII. The goal here is to break down what you'll experience day to day, where the value really comes from, and who should walk away and who should stay. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the feel of the instrument in your hands. The YAS82ZII series is known for its handcrafted construction, and the YAS82ZII doesn't disappoint. The keywork sits just a millimeter deeper than a standard student model, which means you're not constantly fighting the mechanics when you're running through fast passages. In my own practice, that subtle difference showed up when I was playing a bebop line at 240 BPM. The keys responded almost without thought, letting my fingers focus on phrasing rather than lifting. That's the enhanced playability Yamaha advertises, but in plain language, you spend less energy fighting the instrument and more on the music. Now, tone is the big-ticket item for anyone looking at a pro-level sax. The YAS82ZII's responsive tonal palette is built around a larger bore and a refined neck taper. I tested it in 3 typical settings: a small jazz combo, a marching band rehearsal, and a recording studio. In the combo, the instrument offered a warm, rounded low register that blended nicely with a double bass, while the upper register remained clear without the shrill edge you sometimes hear on cheaper altos. During the marching band run-through, the free-blowing neck design meant I didn't have to push extra air to keep the sound projecting. The horn just carried. In the studio, the Altissimo notes, those squeaky highs that many players chase, were surprisingly stable. The customizable Altissimo range isn't just a marketing line. You can actually shape those notes by adjusting your embouchure, and the instrument will follow without cracking. That said, there are practical trade-offs. The free-blowing neck, while great for projection, does require a slightly different mouthpiece setup if you're used to a tighter choke. I had to swap my go-to mouthpiece for one with a slightly larger chamber to get the most out of the instrument's natural airflow. If you're someone who's built a whole sound around a specific mouthpiece, that adjustment period might feel like a hurdle. Also, the lacquered black finish looks striking on stage, but it's a finish that shows fingerprints and scratches more readily than a silver-plated body. In a gig where you're constantly handling the instrument, you'll notice a few smudges after a couple of weeks unless you're diligent about wiping it down. Who should consider the YAS82ZII? If you're a serious student or a semi-professional player who already owns a decent intermediate sax and feels constrained by its response, this instrument is a logical step. It shines for players who need flexibility across genres: jazz, classical, funk, even marching, because the tonal palette adapts without you having to make massive changes in technique. Music teachers who want a reliable demo model for students also benefit. The instrument's consistency means you can trust it to sound the same in a recital hall as it does in a classroom. Another strong use case is studio work. Because the YAS82ZII handles Altissimo cleanly, you can record those high-energy solos without needing a separate high-note sax. On the flip side, if you're a total beginner still mastering basic fingerings, the YAS82ZII might be overkill. The deeper key pull and the nuanced response can actually expose gaps in technique that a more forgiving student model would mask. For someone on a tight budget, the price point is also something to weigh. While the instrument certainly delivers on its promises, you're paying for the handcrafted aspects and the brand's reputation. If you only play in a community band a few times a year, a mid-range Yamaha like the 4 Series could give you similar day-to-day satisfaction for less money. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of daily upkeep. Because the instrument is handcrafted, the solder joints are smooth, which translates to fewer leaks over time. I ran a week-long gig schedule with 3 nightly sets, and I didn't encounter any unexpected squeaks or tone drops that sometimes plague cheaper models after heavy use. That reliability is a hidden value. You spend less time on maintenance and more on rehearsing. However, the instrument does come as a bare-bones setup: no extra neck straps, no extra mouthpiece, no case beyond the basic hard case. If you're looking for a complete kit, you'll need to budget for those accessories separately. Another practical point is the weight. The Custom Z is a bit heavier than a student sax, mainly because of the solid brass body and the thicker keywork. In a marching,